Well, friends and family will be gathering for Thanksgiving this week. While it's a festive time, it can also be a challenging time. Maybe you are missing a loved one or worried about stressful conversations. Dr. David Gutterman, a clinical psychologist with LeBauer Behavioral Medicine, is here to share strategies for when the holidays are hard and managing healthy conversations with family dynamics. So good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Pleasure.
All right, so let's start here. What advice do you have for people who may be facing Thanksgiving without a loved one present?
Well, that's a unique and difficult, circumstances for many people. So, if you're experiencing a Thanksgiving without a loved one because that person has passed, again, that can be very emotional and difficult. I think the thing to do is not to ignore that. In fact, to use it as an opportunity to take a few moments collectively as a group to acknowledge the loss, acknowledge the absence of that person, and perhaps share some positive, good memories about that person, and then move on into the Thanksgiving celebration. If someone is absent because they can't, be at the table for other reasons, distance or whatever, that's a great time to use Zoom or FaceTime or something like that to bring that person to the table, even for a short time, so everyone can share their thoughts and feelings.
And if someone around the table is maybe, upset or showing some emotions, as another family member, what could you do in that moment when you see that happening?
Well, I think again, the thing to do is not ignore it, not to divert the conversation, but to acknowledge that someone is clearly upset, for one reason or another. If it, depending upon the severity, sometimes it can be a nice gesture to go up to that person, to maybe take them aside, see if they would like to, take a few moments to talk or gather themselves or something like that. But again, the thing to do is not ignore it when someone is obviously struggling or having a difficult time.
Gotcha. And kind of getting into that a little bit more, what are some things to not do in that moment?
Well, again, I think you don't want to just ignore it. I think sometimes by ignoring feelings, it leaves open to interpretation for people to try to anticipate or think about, what might be going on for that person, and that gives there can be lots of misinterpretations about that. So you don't want to try to cover it up, whether it's your own feelings or the feelings of a family member. But lots of people are bringing all kinds of feelings to the table at Thanksgiving. You want it to be a positive, a festive experience, but it isn't that way, for everyone at all times.
And what if you're the one yourself kind of struggling with your own emotions this time of year, but you don't want to upset others?
Well, again, I think what happens sometimes is that we tend to repress those kinds of feelings. The worst thing we can do is to do that, because it will emerge, it will show itself in some way and lead other people to interpretations and perhaps think that they're the cause for it when they may not have anything to do with it at all. So I think the thing to do in that circumstance is share with others that you might be having a difficult time for whatever reason or whatever might be going on. Also, make sure that you have a strategy to manage that, so that if you need to take a time out, you need to take a short walk or just take a few minutes, share with your family members or your friends that excuse yourself to do whatever you need to do to gather. Or if there's someone at your table that you really feel like it would be helpful to talk with, to talk through those thoughts or feelings for a few moments, pull them aside and take that opportunity as well.
Yeah, and you talked also a little earlier about the importance of having happy conversations sometimes if you can, because it's Thanksgiving, and sometimes good to try to lighten the mood. Can you give a few examples of ways a person could try to lighten the mood? What kind of conversations? What could they talk about that they could do?
Mhm. Well, first of all, every family has its trigger points. Every person has trigger points, and if you happen to hit upon one, not such a positive one, and you want to sort of shift that discussion into a more positive direction, you can divert away from that more tense moment to bring up things like asking people to go around the table, talk about what they're grateful for, talk about some things that they are anticipating in 2024 that they want to do, goals they have, dreams that they have. You can divert conversation by, if you know that someone at your table has had a particularly unique or positive experience, be it travel or a new job or something like that, ask them about that. Shift the conversation into something that everybody can participate in a positive way. And that way you can kind of shift the mood, shift the discussion if you've hit one of those unfortunate trigger points.
Okay, and then last question on this side of the break. If uncomfortable conversations start, what should you do?
If an uncomfortable conversation starts, well, I think, again, you don't want to take a deep dive into that. I think that I would suggest that it's often very helpful to, if you know what some of those difficult topics are for people, do a pregame. Talk to folks before your guests before they arrive in the days before Thanksgiving, starting now, about topics that probably we should not be bringing up at the table. That you want this to be a positive, good experience Thanksgiving for everyone. You know, there are certain hot topics to discuss. You know, one person has one political view, someone else has a very different one. Thanksgiving is probably not the best place to be sharing it.
All right, thank you so much. We'll pick up this conversation right after the break.